Good morning, campers. On today's episode we're going to be doing a compression test on the engine and then also stripping the engine down to see how bad the shells and the bearings are. So it's time to do the compression on the engine. As you know, this is the 2 litre air-cooled CU model. So we've got a gauge on. The gauge unfortunately is dancing around a little bit. We're not really too bothered about it, to be fair, because we just want to make sure that they're all reading about the same. And then when it comes to stripping down the block, we were looking at the rings, measuring the gaps in the rings, measuring the pistons and measuring the bores. What we have done is plug the oil switch, because obviously you don't want oil all over the place. Alright, let's crack on. Number 1. So that's dancing around at the minute. They're around 140. But on this model of engine, it should be about 110 psi. Cylinder 2. Cylinder 2 again, about 140. Cylinder 3. 140 again, around that. Cylinder 4 is about 140. Again, bouncing around, so the number's not correct. As I say, you should really be seeing about 110 psi on the CU model. Right, now we're happy with the compression test, we're going to start stripping the block. Right, if you do come to change the starter motor, this does have a little brass sleeve on the top of it which gets stuck in the bell housing. Just a little pointer in case you're looking. Now we're taking the rockers out, we can take the 4 push rods out. Just make sure you try and separate them if you can. Head nuts are cracked, now it's time to take them out. When you're taking head nuts or head bolts out, remember to start from the inside and work your way out. I don't mean that literally, I mean start inwards, make your way out in a circular motion. When you have cracked them all, you can just whip them out whichever way you like. There's no particular order in that. I forgot to mention the nuts on this particular engine are size 15mm. So now we've got all the head nuts out of the way, it's time to get the push rod tubes out. The push rod tubes come straight through the head of the engine. So the easiest way to get them out is to get either a pair of grips or a good pair of pliers, put them on the tube and gently work the tube out. Unfortunately, you might not be able to see it, but unfortunately the tubes have been damaged. Not by us, all 4 of them have been damaged. Now time to get the cylinder head off. Unlike Clarkson, don't use a big hammer, use a rubber hammer and gently tap it out. Gently work it and it should pop right off. So as you can see, we've taken the head off. We've also taken the bores off. Unfortunately, we do have some burning down the side of the piston. That's very, very bad news. So it's looking like 4 new bores, 4 new pistons. It's just not worth trying to recondition them at all. There is also, if I can find it again, 2 seconds. So there, these shadows, they can just see. That's called pitting. That's also very bad news for the engine. So as you can see, we're taking the flywheel off, and it looks like the rear main seal is leaking. Just a quick inspection of the clutch. The clutch doesn't actually look that bad, to be honest. Looks quite new. Little rule of thumb, if you can feel it, so you can get your nail underneath the plates, if you will. Yeah, I think. Then there's plenty of life on it. What you don't want to see is this to be as smooth as this. That's bad news for you. Onto the subject of this though, doesn't look like there's any wear on it. Again, if you can't feel anywhere, if you can see somewhere, that's not too bad. If you can feel it, that's bad news again. But this clutch doesn't look bad at all. Same for here. Nothing on it at all. So we put the engine on an engine stand just to make it a lot easier to get to stripping the engine and rebuilding it. As you can see down here, this is an aftermarket oil cooler. It was just put in just because obviously something wasn't working properly. This is the original oil cooler. We're going to take it apart, see what's going on inside, and replacing it because it just needs doing. Whilst it's all apart anyway, we'll just do it whilst it's out. So we're taking the oil cooler off. These are your oil cooler seals. We've taken off the belt pulley / fan. We're going to be removing the auxiliary oil cooler supply, which looks like it's just this nut. Crack it off, then get rid of the housing. Took the head off. The only thing that might catch you out, we've taken the head off, is this little bit of tinware here. All it is just there's a little screw in there, holds the tin to the head, and it might just catch you out when you're taking it off. With the head off, we can now take the barrels out, which have already been taken out, and now we're starting to take the pistons out. Now we've taken the pistons out, it's time to get the bench back in so we can work to get the studs out. So we've removed all the pistons, just by taking off one circlip from each piston. I just been trying to say what each side. So we've removed the pistons, fairly easy. Just remove the circlip from one side of the piston. Just gently tap the gudgeon pin out, and it just slips off nice and easy. These are the two halves of your engine. When taking the engine apart, make sure, obviously, that you've got all the nuts and bolts out. This one nearly caught us out if we didn't spend that extra 10 minutes having a look to see where it is. So, it's right at the bottom of the engine, right above the, well, this is where the sump is, sump plug. And when you take the bolts out, you will hear it drop. Just in case you're wondering where the timing marks are, there they are. So there's one dot on the cam, and there's two on the crank. So we're just going to take these out, nice and easy, pull the cam out. Now we've got the engine in half and stripped, it's time to go shopping. Shells, bearings, exhaust gasket, bolts, nuts, seals, washers, pistons, rings, just shopping. So that's going to do it for today's episode, guys. Thanks ever so much for tuning in, and tune in next weekend to see when we rebuild the engine. Ta-da!